You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Beltran, episode 119. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Can you believe we are already at the 4th of 8 sessions about how to let go and surrender? After you listen to today's episode, you will be halfway through this series. If you missed the previous week's sessions, go back and listen to those first so that you can hear all the weeks in order. You can find the first session by going to bexb.org/letgo, Letgo. Week 1 was the introduction to how and why to let go and surrender, and how these 8 episodes will follow and provide context for the Let Go and Surrender journal. 2 weeks ago, I shared some specific ways you can practice surrender. Last week, we talked about letting go in order to have healthy relationships and how to get comfortable being in discomfort. This week, let's talk about accepting responsibility and power. And this one is full of contradictions. For the past few weeks, I have been telling you that we don't really have control. Today, I'm telling you that you can, quote unquote, take back control from whatever or whoever you have given it to. We have talked about how letting go and surrendering is accepting reality. And now I am suggesting it can also be about accepting responsibility. Part of letting go is accepting responsibility instead of blaming. That last sentence may also seem like a contradiction. Maybe accepting all the responsibility for everything feels like a huge burden instead of a relief. But the opposite really is true. When you personally and intentionally decide that you will accept responsibility for yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions, you take the power back from whatever you unintentionally gave it to. If you have ever found yourself blaming others or blaming circumstances for how you are thinking and feeling, notice if accepting responsibility instead helps to loosen any tightness or constriction in you. How would it feel to be open about what is happening in reality instead of just being shut down and confined by it? This is why you are choosing responsibility, not blame. Imagine these 2 examples. Imagine someone saying, "When you do that, you make me think XYZ," versus, "When you do that, someone might think XYZ, I choose to think ABC." Hopefully those letters aren't too confusing and you can substitute whatever makes sense in your life. In the first example, "When you do that, you make me think," you are blaming what you think on what the person does. In the second example, "When you do that, I choose to think," you are accepting responsibility for your own thoughts about someone's behavior. You are taking back control of what you think. In week 2, one of the practice steps was to say no and yes. And here's something else you can say no and yes to. No to blaming others and blaming situations. Yes to noticing where your responsibility or power lies. This does take awareness and practice and trial and error. Maybe you think, okay, I am in, I will give it a try. Then as you go about your day and your life, you forget and you slip into old habits. At the end of the day, you might realize that you did have thoughts like, "I am mad because this happened," or "I was hurt when she said that." Good news. You can notice and adjust after the fact and still get the benefits. You can realize, oh, I thought I was mad because, quote unquote, this happened. But actually, I was mad because I was thinking it shouldn't happen, but it did happen. You can notice, I thought I was hurt because she said that thing. But now I see I was hurt because of what I thought when she said that thing. Really, she can say whatever she wants. Even noticing and accepting responsibility instead of blaming much later gives you so much power back. Let's talk about a type of power. Think of the core of your body as your center of strength and power. Now imagine extension cords being plugged into your core that either give or draw power to or from you at various currents. Notice who or what is giving and draining your power. Who or what is at the other end of those extension cords? Are you plugged in and attached to someone who draws power from you? Okay, contradiction alert. This sounds a little bit like blaming the other person. That is not what I am suggesting here. I am inviting you to notice when you feel a shift in your power or energy because of what you think when you are around that person. Do you put yourself in situations where the energy is just sucked right out of you? On the other hand, are you expending so much power and energy towards someone or something for no benefit to you? Unplug the cords that drain your energy and look for ways to plug into things that give you energy. I have a personal example to share that illustrates this draining of power. I am the type of person who likes to have a plan. I like to know in advance what we're doing and where we are going. Because opposites attract, I married someone who is more spontaneous and who likes to go with the flow and see what will happen. Last year we took a few different trips, and I started to notice a pattern while we were on vacation. I would ask, "What do you want to do today?" Or "Where are we going after this?" And the pattern that I noticed was that I always felt completely drained by the answers. "Let's see, we'll figure it out. I don't know yet. I'm not sure." Because part of having healthy relationships is accepting people as they are and not needing them to change to be more like what we prefer. I did not expect my husband to start making plans and itineraries. Maybe I wanted to, maybe I tried once, that didn't work. Instead, I noticed when my brain wanted to ask, "What's next?" or "What should we do when we're in this place?" and I declined the suggestion of asking. It was a little uncomfortable for me because I really wanted to know what we would be doing on our time off together. But I reminded myself, I do not like the way I feel. I do not like my energy when I asked those types of questions or wanted that type of information and did not get it. So I unplugged that extension cord so that it would stop draining my energy. There is a happy ending to this story. We ended up having lovely vacations and experiences and got to try new things and see places and talk to people I would never have planned for. The flip side to this story is that I do get some of my energy from having a plan and knowing what to expect. So I did plan some activities and I had a list of places that I wanted to see if our timing and if opportunities worked out. I kept that extension cord plugged in. I just unplugged the cord that wanted to get the planning and preparation where it wasn't available. Did you know that you get to decide if you are powerful or powerless? You may not use this specific exact language. You may say something along the lines of, "I can" or "I can't." Some people might decide completely subliminally without realizing that they are powerless most of the time. Other people may either intentionally or unintentionally decide that they are mostly powerful most of the time. You get to decide if you are powerful or powerless. More likely, we think we are powerful in some situations and powerless in others. Isn't that interesting? Now that you're hearing this and you realize it, You get to decide. You can intentionally decide to rely on your own power. You even have a choice if you want to invoke a quote-unquote higher power, like a deity or a supernatural entity or the universe. Or you can decide that your power is in your own self-esteem and self-reliance, which you strengthen and regulate yourself internally, regardless of what is happening outside of you. Here's this week's verse to repeat to yourself or just to listen to. You can modify it to make it your own or choose something completely different. Let me remember to be intentional. I know how to be in this world. I can make decisions without hesitation because I am self-aware. Let life flow as it will and let me flow along. Let me release pressure if it builds. Let me accept what I learn. Let me surrender. If you are tracking along on our journey up Maslow's hierarchy and up through the chakras, this week we are still staying in the safety and security level of the pyramid. But this week we are looking at the opposite and noticing we do not need to fear or feel powerless in the context of our own safety and security. This goes right along with focusing on the solar plexus. It is your center of power and will. It is where you know you are an individual, where you know you can take responsibility. You know you are secure in your place in the world. Here are some journal prompts for this week. What old energy drains am I still connected to? How and what can I unplug from? How do I know my own beauty, value, and worthiness? Here is an exercise you can think about doing this week. Focus your own power on yourself, your own higher power, your own inner wisdom. What can you give yourself credit for? Make a list of at least 10 things, both big and small. You can see more of the prompts and activities to help you accept responsibility and power in section 4 of the Let Go and Surrender Journal. There's a link for it in the show notes for this episode at bexb.org/accept, ACCEPT. Now that we are halfway through this series, and hopefully now that you have had some time to practice and experiment with these concepts, there is another activity to suggest. Start a list called New Things I Have Tried, Learned, Experienced, and Received Since Starting This Journey. If you have the journal or study guide, there's already a page with that title towards the end of the book. Keeping this running list can help you see your own progress and growth as you learn how to let go and surrender. I started my own list as I was doing this work 2 years ago, and one of the things I realized was that I could incorporate a daily gratitude into my morning journaling practice. Before, I had just been doing it once a month. So this was something new that now I have been doing for 2 years, and it really helps my mind say yes and stay open to receive. This time around, here's what I'm adding to the list so far. I noticed that I had a perfect day recently. I was writing in my journal and I actually used the words settling in one morning. So the brainwashing is working, and I know it can work for you too. I hope this is working for you. Let me know how your surrender journey is going by sending me an email at hi@bexb.org or leave a comment in the show notes for this episode at bexb.org/accept. That's bexb.org/ACCEPT. Next week, we are starting the second half and session 5, and we will be exploring long-held beliefs. Do you think differently now as an adult than you did when you were a child? We probably like to think we think differently, but what ideas that we came up with in childhood are we still living our life by today? That's something to check into. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk with you next week. You know what I'm really good at? Asking questions, then listening to the answer and redirecting you if you didn't answer. then showing you your thoughts from how you answered. That is part of what coaching with me is like. I don't have an agenda for you. I don't think I know better than you. I do believe in you and your capacity. If you tell me what you want for yourself, I believe it. I can see it for you. I can show you the thoughts that are keeping you from getting what you want. Then you can drop those thoughts and go get what you want. Coaching really works. Come to my site at bexby.org/coaching and book a session with me. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexby.org to see how we can work together.